Hi student, I'm Sukwant. I want to take 1 minute from your precious time in this video. All questions are given for exam practice. You can do your good practice and you can achieve your desired score. Thank you. I will you soon.
The first inhabitants in Australia were the ancestors of the present Indigenous people. Whether or several successive waves and distinct peoples is still subject to academic debate, as is its timing. The minimum widely accepted time frame places presence of humans in Australia at 40,000 to 43,000 years before, supported by others as 60,000 to 70,000 years BP. In any event, this migration was achieved during the closing stages of the Pleistocene epoch. These first migrations involved one timing. The minimum widely present, while the upper range when sea levels were typically much lower than they are today. Repeated episodes of extended glaciation resulted in decreases of sea levels by some 100,150 meters. The continental coastline therefore extended much further out into the Timor Sea than it does today, and Australia and New Guinea formed a single landmass known as Sahel, connected by an extensive land bridge across the Arafura Sea, Gulf of Carpentaria and Torres Strait. The ancestral Australian Aboriginal peoples were thus long established and continued to develop, diversify and settle through much of the continent. As the sea levels again rose at the terminus of the most recent glacial period some 10,000 years ago, the Australian continent once more became a separated landmass. However, the newly formed 150 km wide Torres Strait with its chain of islands still provided the means for cultural contact and trade between New Guinea and the northern Cape York Peninsula. During the 1970s and 1980s, around 120,000 Southern Asian refugees migrated to Australia. During that 20 years, Australia first began to adopt a policy of what Minister of Immigration A1 Grassby termed multiculturalism. In 2004-05, Australia accepted 123,000 new settlers, a 40% increase over the past 10 years. The largest number of immigrants, 40,000 in 2004-2005, moved to Sydney. The majority of immigrants came from Asia, led by China and India.
I believe our borders should be open. But if that is not politically acceptable for now, Europe should at least open up a legal route for people from developing countries to come work here. Over time, hopefully, we can move to a position where borders are completely open. Persuading skeptics won't be easy. That's why I think the argument for free migration has to be made at several levels. In principled case, it increases freedom and reduces injustice. In humanitarian case, it helps people much poorer than ourselves. In economic case, it makes us richer. In pragmatic case, it is inevitable, so it is in everyone's interests to make the best of it. Freedom of movement is not just a matter of human rights and international solidarity. It is in our self-interest. Opening our borders may seem unrealistic. But so too, once, did abolishing slavery or giving women the vote. Campaigning for people's right to move freely is a noble cause for our time.
The comics I show you with lots of people chatting around in a room is a form of description. We use different kinds of methods to describe a situation. Sometimes we have to use visual description, particularly when we do not witness the scenario. I was born during the Second World War and my hometown is X. For example, when I asked my mother about the war, I always ask her, "You have mentioned this," or that when you talk to me when asked her about the shelter, I asked her what the shelter looks like and when did you go to the shelter. From her response I could get more visual evidence as I can to write my book.
This simulation shows what you might see if you are orbiting a black hole. The light and position of background stars around the hole are distorted by its gravity and they seem to spin around. On the right, the constellation Orion appears to approach the event horizon, the boundary from which nothing can escape. Orion stars look like they become separated and get spun around. Once the hole has passed by, Orion reappears on the left and looks normal again. Users can also experiment with different scenarios. This is what you might see if you were traveling towards a black hole with rocket engines slowing your descent. Another simulation mimics free fall into a hole. In the middle, the light of the entire universe appears to be concentrated in a bright ring.
Why does burning a food item provide information about its value as a food? The nutritional value of food can be measured on many different scales. The most basic measurement scale is the free energy content of the food. In other words, how much energy is released when chemical bonds within the food are broken. The energy content of food is measured in calories, the amount of kinetic energy required to raise the temperature of 1 milliliter of water, 1 degree. Food is burned under controlled conditions, breaking chemical bonds and releasing free energy. The burning is chemically similar to the breakdown of food in cellular respiration, although the process occurs much more quickly and in a less controlled fashion during ignition. Calorimeter can measure the energy in food, but cannot measure the digested energy of what we have.
Thank you for watching this video, will help you a lot, and subscribe our channel Vital PTE Academy to see more education related videos of PTE Academy. I will meet you in next video.